A number of reports out today highlight the difficulties facing small business owners during the pandemic. Research from one particular bank suggests that almost half of owners of small or medium-sized businesses have seen their profits drop as a result of lockdown restrictions. And 40% of female business owners who contributed to the survey also said their mental health has suffered. There's another report today out as well from the British Business Bank and a consulting firm, and it's found that black entrepreneurs report lower turnover and profit than their white counterparts. Let's talk to three people about this. Jackie Ash, who has run her own catering business for the past 30 years. Amanjot Yohal, who owns a bar in Birmingham. And also Piers Linney, who's an entrepreneur and former Dragon's Den investor. He's also a non-executive director at the British Business Bank. And Piers, you were on the advisory panel for this report. Why do black entrepreneurs experience less success than white ones?
So that's the thing we need to actually work out. What the report does is give us data. So let me just describe it to you. So as many people start businesses, no matter what colour you are, they invest more money, they're as well educated, they invest more time, as much time and ambition, but for some reason they're not successful. So that's not as successful. So that's structural, that's systemic. That's the data, what we have now. I never had that before, so it's seminal, this research. Now it's a question of what do you do to bring about change so that all we're asking for is a level playing field. And we're leaving tens of billions on the table in terms of our economy just by not providing people with equal opportunity to connect ambition with opportunity.
Amanjot Yohal, let me bring you in. How do you react to this research that entrepreneurs from black and ethnic minority backgrounds experience less success than white ones?
I mean, it makes perfect sense to me. We got voted the best gym bar in the world, and when we went to pick up the award, I was the only person of colour in that room. This is a global award. Now, it's the playing field isn't level. We disproportionately have less opportunities and less connections that allow businesses to become successful.
Why do you have fewer opportunities? Why do you say that?
A lot of it comes down to connections. As anybody would know, it's easier to become successful. The more connections you have, the more ability you have to leverage your understanding and your knowledge. And the difficulty is for a lot of people who I've spoken to who are in a similar position to me, is that we feel like we don't have those connections that give us that platform to push ourselves, and we have to work harder to create those platforms for ourselves.
Okay, Piers, is some of it down to racism?
Well, racism is the institutional racism. It's not really about racism, it's about just systemic bias, unconscious and conscious bias. I think I made a very good point there. One of the big differences is between those who succeed and those who don't. It's actually even worse if you're a woman as well. Let's not forget that. It's about gender as well. It's a social capital. And I think the point was made then that this is about networks, contacts. It's about access to finance. Any small company or even high growth tech company at some point is going to need to raise debt or equity finance. So it's about role models, confidence. I went to a Milltown Comprehensive and I was pretty bloody minded, but I suffered from many thousands of these microaggressions over my career.
Can you give us an example, Piers? Sorry to interrupt.
Well, I'd be in meetings as a CEO. We'd have people sitting in meetings with my suppliers or potential customers, and I'd say, let's start. They'd be looking at the WhatsApp, whatever's on their phone, and I'd be saying, shall we start the meeting? And they'd look around and say, we're waiting for Piers. Because no one expected me to be Piers. I was a finalist in a very large entrepreneur competition. Cut a long story short, I walked into reception, hung my coat and bag up. As I walk out, two of the finalists hand me their coats and bags. Now, I always thought, I'll show you, not everybody has that resilience, and it can wear you down over time. So the point is that we all can make a difference. We can all look at, are we an investor, are we a lender, are we an employer? How do we rid ourselves of that conscious and unconscious bias? It's like running a 100-meter race. You're starting 20 meters back because of your socioeconomic background. You realize that you're now in a hurdles race, and some of the hurdles are invisible. And it's about sorting that out.
Okay, let me bring in Jackie. Hi, Jackie. How are you?
Hi there. Hi.
What challenges have you faced being a female entrepreneur, and particularly through this pandemic?
So back in March, when all this happened, I had a diary full of work for the whole of 2020, which within 3 weeks of the pandemic, every single function was crossed out of the diary because people were too frightened and didn't know what was going to happen. And moving forward, people are too frightened now to book for next year because they can't see where this is all going to end. So really overnight, from a 30-year business, I've ended up with nothing, trying to reinvent something else to keep me going.
And have you managed to do that?
Well, at the moment, I'm trying to bring out different things of tea boxes and Christmas hampers, and but it's all on a very small scale. It's for 2 or 4 people, whereas I'm used to catering for 200 or 300 people.
Of course.
So, you know, the money is not what it was, and is the way forward, because so many people now are trying to make money because they've lost their income, and they're out there sort of making biscuits, doing little tea boxes and trying to make money for themselves, you know. So all the big caterers that have had lovely businesses over the years have got a lot more competition.
Has your mental health been affected, would you say?
100%. I couldn't get out of bed for 6 weeks, not knowing what the future was going to bring. I didn't know why to get out of bed, what I should get out of bed for. I couldn't see a way forward, couldn't see what I was going to do with my life. I'm 62 years old. Actually, I'm 61. And I don't want to retire. I've had a fabulous business. I love what I do. But these big functions are not going to be back anytime soon. Yeah. I just don't believe they will be.
I'm sorry to hear that. I really am, Jackie. Let me bring Piers back in. Piers, do you have any advice for those watching who have been running small and medium-sized businesses, and for people like Jackie and Amanjot?
I've been giving lots of advice about this, but at the end of the day, it's about resilience. So you're an entrepreneur. You know, this is not easy time, and you have to confront that, and you have to make some quite difficult changes and decisions. But the point is about survival. It won't go on forever, and it's about surviving and cutting your costs and trying to do what you can, pivoting. It's about being digital, you know, trying to reach new markets, customers in new ways. But the point is survive, because then it's a lot easier to sort of continue and grow that business than it is often to start again. There's no easy answer to that. But going back to this research, if you're Black, Asian, ethnic minority, it's even harder, actually. And they've been harder impacted by COVID as well. So this, in total, makes it a lot harder for people, whereas it just shouldn't be.
OK, thank you all very much. And Amanjot and Jackie, I wish you all the best. Thank you. And Piers, thanks for talking to us this morning. Jackie Ash and Amanjot Yohal, he's the owner of 40 St Paul's Bar in Birmingham, and Piers Linney, entrepreneur and former Dragon's Den investor. Thank you.